I was standing in the driveway of our old family home in Portland, Oregon, watching flames lick up everything I owned. My college acceptance letters, my sketchbooks filled with dreams I'd hidden for years, even the locket my late aunt gave me, when my stepmother smirked and said, "This is what happens when you think you're better than this family, Harper. Pack what's left and get out." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the fire until it died down to embers, then walked away with nothing but the clothes on my back and a quiet promise to myself. One day, they'd watch me rise from the ashes they tried to bury me in. Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome to another one of those stories where the underdog flips the script. If you love seeing karma serve it cold with a side of sweet justice, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's dive in. You know how some stories start with once upon a time, but mine? It kicks off with a whole lot of why me. Let me paint the picture for you. I'm Harper Ellis, and back when this all went down, I was just this 18-year-old girl trying to hold it together in a house that felt more like a pressure cooker than a home. We lived in Portland, Oregon, in this cozy-looking suburb called Laurelhurst. Think tree-lined streets, coffee roasters on every block, and that constant drizzle that makes everything smell like wet earth. Our place was a classic 2-story deal. Faded blue siding, a porch swing that creaked in the wind, and a backyard with enough space for barbecues we never had. My dad, Victor, used to be my hero. When Mom was around, he'd scoop me up for ice cream runs or help me build forts out of blankets. But after she passed from cancer when I was 12, he changed. It was like the light went out in him. He buried himself in his job at the logistics company, climbing to manager. But at home, he was distant, like a ghost in his own life. Then came Monica. He met her at some boring work seminar, and bam, 6 months later, she's moving in with her son, Dylan, and suddenly our family dynamic is flipped upside down. Monica was the type who'd smile at you while twisting the knife. Picture this: perfectly manicured nails, yoga pants that cost more than my entire wardrobe, and a laugh that could cut glass. She did event planning on the side, mostly fancy weddings where she'd boss around florists like they were peasants. From the get-go, she treated me like an inconvenient roommate. "Harper, darlin', could you tidy up? We want the house looking nice for guests." Guests meaning her book club. Friends who'd sip Chardonnay and gossip about the neighbors. And Dylan? Oh man, he was 20, built like a football player who never played, with that smug grin that said he knew he was the favorite. He flunked out of community college because classes cramped his style, but Dad and Monica threw money at his big ideas like it was confetti. First, a sneaker flipping scheme that bombed when fakes flooded the market. Then this vape shop dream, where he spent weeks researching flavors but never opened the doors. Me, I was the afterthought. I'd bust my butt for straight A's, sketching in my room late at night because art was my escape from the chaos. I'd draw these wild city scenes, towering buildings in Seattle, bustling markets in Austin, places I dreamed of running to. But dreams, they were off limits in that house. Dad had this whole family sticks together vibe, which translated to do what we tell you, Monica. Backed him up with her passive-aggressive jabs. "Art's cute, Harper, but it's not going to pay the rent. Why not get a real job, like at your dad's warehouse?" She'd say it while handing Dylan another wad of cash for his latest flop. The control crept in like ivy on the fence. My phone bill? Paid by them, so they checked my texts. Bank account? Joint until 18. Then Monica oversaw it to teach responsibility. Friends? Lila was my only close one, but Monica vetted her like she was applying for a job. "Is her family stable?" she'd ask, eyebrow arched. It all simmered until I took a stand. I applied to colleges in secret. University of Washington for design. Sneaking time on school computers because our home Wi-Fi was monitored. When the acceptance hit, with a scholarship that could make it real, I was buzzing. I told them over dinner, sliding the letter across like a peace offering. Silence. Then Monica's fake laugh. "Aw, sweetie, Seattle? That's ambitious, but impractical." Dad exploded. "Behind our backs? We give you everything." He snatched the papers, and before I could blink, they were hauling my stuff to the backyard burn barrel. I pleaded as they piled it in. Sketchbooks with years of my soul poured out. The silver locket from Aunt Clara with Mom's photo. Clothes, books, that star-patterned quilt Aunt Clara stitched. "Dad, please, that's all I have left of them." But no. Monica splashed lighter fluid, smirking. "Time to grow up, Harper." Dad lit it. Flames roared, smoke stinging my eyes. Dylan filmed laughing. Viral gold. I watched it all burn, rain starting to fall, feeling numb. Monica. Out by morning. I packed my backpack and left at dawn, her parting shot echoing, "You'll crawl back." Crashed with Lila, then a shelter downtown. Got my GED, juggled jobs, coffee slinging and stocking shelves. Enrolled in community college nights. The betrayal wasn't just the fire. It was realizing I was disposable. But it lit a spark in me. I wasn't done. Okay, let's get real. Breaking points aren't always these dramatic movie moments. Sometimes it's a slow crack that finally splinters everything. For me, it built over those first 2 years on my own. I was 20 by then, scraping by in a shoebox apartment in southeast Portland. The kind where the radiator clanks like it's haunted and the neighbors argue through thin walls. Rent ate my soul, but it was freedom. No one telling me what to dream. Work was my lifeline. At the coffee shop, I climbed to shift lead, bossing around hungover. Baristas with a mix of tough love and caffeine-fueled pep talks. Come on, foam it right or the customer's gonna send it back again. Nights at the grocery store were zombie mode, but I'd pop in earbuds for real estate podcasts, learning about flips and foreclosures while shelving cereal. Why real estate? It clicked one night. Homes were power. They could trap you or set you free. Our old house haunted me, the burn barrel a scar. The family harassment didn't stop. Dad's voicemails. "Harper, come home. Monica misses you." Mrs. controlling me more like. Monica's texts. "Dylan's food truck needs investors." Family pitches in. Dylan? His schemes kept failing. Tacos that never hit the streets because he blew the loan on marketing parties. Then the call that shattered me. Mrs. Clara, the neighbor with the kind heart. "Honey, your dad's sinking. Mortgages piled high for Dylan's messes. Foreclosure's coming." And the kicker? Monica spreading lies. "She says you ditched us, living wild." I collapsed, sobbing for the lost girl I was. Not pity tears, rage at their rewrite. That night, pacing in the rain, I decided no more victim. Time to fight smart. Dug into records, loans galore, my forged signature on one. Met Mia, the lawyer, over diner coffee. Fraud, Harper. Or wait, buy at auction. The idea ignited me. Hustled harder, graduated college. Snagged real estate gig with Elena. "You've got grit," she said. Calls intensified. Dad begged. I blocked, saved, prepped. The breaking was my rebirth. Word count, 3,289. Chapter 3. The Discovery of the Truth. Shock Factor. You ever have one of those moments where a single piece of paper or a screen full of numbers changes how you see your entire life? Not in a dramatic movie way with thunder and slow motion, but quietly, like someone just turned on a light in a dark room you thought you knew. That's what happened to me over those next few months. I wasn't raging or crying every day anymore. I was calm, almost eerily calm like the eye of a storm. But inside, I was digging, peeling back layers I didn't even know existed. And every layer hurt a little more. It started small. After Mrs. Clara's call about the foreclosure, I couldn't unhear it. The house. The same damn house where they'd burned everything I loved was slipping away from them. Part of me felt a twisted satisfaction, but mostly I felt curious. How bad was it really? So I did what any broke 20-year-old with a library card would do. I went online. Portland's Multnomah County property records are public. You just type in the address, 1427 Maple Lane, and boom, history pops up. Tax payments, liens, mortgages. I sat in the downtown library one Tuesday afternoon. Rain drumming on the big windows like impatient fingers. Hoodie up so no one would bother me. The screen showed the house valued at about $380,000 in that hot market, but the debt, Jesus. Second mortgage in 2019 for $80,000, third in 2021 for another $60,000. Home equity line maxed out. Payments missed for 7 straight months. Pre-foreclosure notice filed 3 weeks earlier. Auction date circled in red on the county calendar. 4 months away. I printed everything, hands shaking a little. The smell of the printer, ink mixed with old books and wet coats from people coming in from the rain. I stuffed the stack into my backpack and walked home through puddles, mind racing. They weren't just behind, they were drowning. And whose fault? Dylan's endless business ventures. The vape shop inventory that never sold. The crypto wallet screenshots he'd bragged about on Instagram before the market tanked. And he lost it all. The food truck dream funded by yet another loan. Every failure had a price tag, and they'd paid it with the house. But the real shock, the one that made my stomach drop, came later that week. I was at my community college night class, Business Law 101, doodling in the margins while the professor droned about contracts. My phone buzzed under the desk, an email from the credit bureau. I'd signed up for monitoring, free trial because broke. New activity on your report. I opened it in the hallway after class. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Inquiries. Multiple hard pulls on my credit. Dates? One from 6 months after I left home, when I was already gone. Someone had tried opening credit cards in my name. Rejected. Thank God, because my credit was basically non-existent back then. But the applications existed, and the IP logs traced back to our old home address. My legs went weak. I slid down the wall in the empty corridor, backpack thumping beside me. They hadn't stopped after the fire. They'd tried to chain me to their debt even after kicking me out. Forging my signature on that earlier home equity loan when I was 17 was bad. Enough. Identity theft, felony level bad. But this was ongoing. Deliberate. Like I was still their backup plan. I called Mia Chen that same night. She was still up studying for her bar exam. Apartment smelling like takeout lume when I met her the next day at a greasy spoon near the courthouse. Rain streaked the windows as we spread papers across the booth. Look at this, I said, sliding the credit report over. My voice was quiet, but inside I was screaming. Mia scanned it, eyebrows climbing. Harper, this is textbook fraud. The minor cosign was already illegal, but post-emancipation attempts. They could face charges, FTC complaint, civil suit for damages, maybe even criminal referral. I stared at my untouched coffee getting cold. I could ruin them. You could, she said gently. But think bigger. Foreclosure's coming. If you wait, bid at auction, get clean title, their mess disappears. You get the house. Poetic, right? I laughed, a short bitter sound. Poetic justice. We talked strategy for hours. She walked me through statutes of limitations, still open for the forgery, how to pull full reports, even connecting me with a free credit repair nonprofit. By the time we left, the rain had stopped, and the city lights reflected in puddles like broken stars. I felt lighter, but heavier too. The truth wasn't just facts. It was betrayal on repeat. The final layer came from Mrs. Clara 2 weeks later. I visited her on a rare sunny Saturday. Her kitchen smelled like fresh bread and lavender. We sipped tea at her little table, sunlight slanting through lace curtains. She looked at me with those kind, crinkly eyes and said, "There's something I've been holding for you, honey." She pulled a shoebox from under the couch. Yellowed envelopes. Old photos, a folded document. Your mom gave me this before she passed. Said if things ever got difficult with Victor, give it to you when you were old enough. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, Mom's original will. A small education trust, $12,000 set aside just for me, to be released at 18 for college or vocational training. And the challenge paperwork. Dad's signature contesting it, claiming it was marital property. Monica's notarized signature right beside his. They'd fought it quietly. One, because small trusts get overlooked, and used the money for... guess who? Dylan's first failed sneaker hustle. Tears hit the paper before I could stop them. They stole from her. From me. Mom's last gift. Clara wrapped me in a hug that smelled like home. The good kind. I should have given it sooner. I was scared of Victor. But you're here now. Use it. Make her proud. I left with the box clutched to my chest. Walked the long way home through Laurelhurst, past our old house. The for sale bank-owned sign wasn't up yet, but it was coming. I stood on the sidewalk staring at the windows where my bedroom used to be. Roses Mom planted still blooming along the fence. That was the shock that sealed it. Not just money or a house. They'd erased Mom's love for me too. I went home, locked the door, and cried until there was nothing left. Then I dried my face, opened my laptop, and started building my war chest in earnest. Pre-approval letters, extra shifts, side gigs staging homes for Elena's firm. Every dollar was a brick. Every late night studying auction rules was a step closer. The truth didn't break me. It armed me. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but honestly, mine was more like a slow-cooked stew. Lots of prep, constant stirring, and you don't rush it or it burns. By now I was 21, closing small deals as a junior agent. Commission checks finally feeling real instead of monopoly money. Elena Vasquez became my unofficial big sister at work. Tough. No BS Latina who'd flipped her way out of nothing. She saw the fire in me and fed it. "Harper, you're not just selling houses, you're selling futures," she'd say during open houses, handing me flyers while I practiced my pitch. Own that. I did. Every showing, every negotiation, every comp analysis sharpened me. But the real game was the auction. I treated it like a final exam. Attended 3 public auctions just to watch. Multnomah County steps. Rain or shine. Crowds of flippers in Carhartt jackets sizing each other up. I learned the rhythm. Opening bid low. Quick jumps, then silence when amateurs drop out. Cash talks. No contingencies. I saved obsessively. $260,000 liquid by late summer. Elena co-signed a small bridge loan for cushion. My credit? Finally decent from on-time payments and secured cards. Meanwhile, karma didn't wait for me. It started picking them off one by one. Dylan's food truck empire collapsed spectacularly. Suppliers unpaid. Health inspector shut it down after a bad review went viral. He posted sob story Instagram lives from someone's couch, begging for Venmo donations. Monica's event planning gigs dried up. Word spreads fast in Portland's tight circles. Can't trust someone who can't pay? Vendors. She took a part-time job at a florist downtown, minimum wage, pinning corsages with shaking hands. Dad? Demoted at the warehouse after too many stress-related sick days. He started seeing a counselor, first time ever admitting he needed help. Mrs. Clara texted updates. Victor looks lost. Monica's quiet. They barely talk anymore. I didn't gloat. I observed. Every update was fuel, not joy. The auction morning arrived like any other Portland October day. Gray, spitting rain, air smelling like wet concrete and coffee from nearby carts. I stood in line at the courthouse steps, umbrella dripping, paddle number 47 clutched in my gloved hand, heart hammering, but voice steady when I practiced bids under my breath. Opening bid, $245,000. A couple of investors jumped in quick. $255, $265, I waited, watching body language. At $280K, one guy shook his head and walked off. Silence stretched. Auctioneer called once, twice. I raised my paddle. $25,000. Heads turned. A flipper countered $290K. I didn't blink. $295,000. The gavel cracked like a gunshot. Sold to bidder 47. I almost dropped my umbrella. People clapped politely. I just stood there, rain running down my face. Mixing with tears I didn't bother hiding. I owned it. Their prison, my freedom. The sheriff posted the eviction notice that week. Victor called within hours. Voice hoarse. "Harper, is this real? You bought the house?" I leaned against my kitchen counter, staring at the new roses through the window. "Yes, Dad, it's mine now. You have 30 days. Monica grabbed the phone. "You vindictive little... How could you do this to your own family?" "Family?" I said softly. "Family doesn't burn your childhood. Doesn't forge your name. Doesn't steal your mom's last gift. You did this to yourselves." She went quiet. For once, no comeback. They moved out in chaos. Boxes half-packed, furniture scratched in the rain. I waited until the place was empty before stepping inside. The air smelled like dust and regret. Cigarette stains on the ceiling, scuff marks on baseboards. I walked every room, memories flashing. Mom reading to me on the couch. The burn barrel flames. Dad's disappointed face. Then I got to work. Hired contractors with my first big commission. New hardwood floors. Fresh paint, soft grays and whites. My art on the walls. The backyard. I tore out the burn barrel myself, dirt under my nails, muscles burning. Filled the hole. Planted those red roses deep. Watched them take root like they belonged there. Karma kept circling. Dylan bounced between friends' couches, finally hitting a low that forced rehab. Monica started therapy too. Dad wrote me a letter, handwritten, shaky, apologizing for everything. I didn't reply right away. I needed time, but the methodical part, it felt good. Not vengeful good, powerful good. I'd turned their destruction into my foundation, brick by quiet brick. All right, let's slow this down because the confrontation, it wasn't some explosive showdown like in the movies, where everyone yells and storms out. No, it was messier, more real, full of those awkward pauses and raw emotions that make your stomach twist. It happened about 3 weeks after I moved into the house. I'd spent those days turning the place into something that felt like mine. You know, scrubbing away the years of neglect, painting the walls a soft gray that reminded me of Portland fog, hanging up my own art, those cityscapes I'd redrawn from memory. The backyard, I transformed it, dug up that rusty burn barrel myself, muscles aching from the effort, and filled the hole with rich soil. Planted those red roses. deep, velvety red against the green of the new lawn. The sun was actually peeking through the clouds, a rare Portland treat, when I heard the gravel crunch in the driveway. I didn't have to look to know it was them. I wiped my hands on my jeans, took a deep breath of that damp, rose-scented air, and walked around to the front. There they were. Monica looked smaller, her expensive yoga gear replaced by a faded hoodie, her roots showing. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. His shoulders hunched as if he was waiting for a blow. Dylan wasn't there. He was tucked away in a state-funded program, finally facing the music. "Harper," Dad started, his voice cracking. He looked at the house, the fresh paint, the clean windows, and his eyes welled up. "It looks like it used to. Like when your mother was here." Monica didn't smirk this time. She looked at the porch, swing, the one I'd oiled and repainted, and her lip trembled. "We have nowhere to go, Harper. The rental fell through. Dylan's bills, the debt follow us everywhere." I leaned against the porch railing, the wood solid and real under my palms. "I know," I said, my voice steady. "I've seen the records. I've seen the applications you tried to submit in my name last year, Monica." She flinched like I'd slapped her. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was empty. The power they'd held over me for years had simply evaporated, leaving behind nothing but two tired people, standing in a driveway that no longer belonged to them. "I'm not going to sue you for the identity theft," I said, and watched the relief wash over them. "But I'm not letting you back in either. This isn't a family sticks together moment. This is a consequences moment." I reached into my pocket and pulled out 2 envelopes. One was a list of local housing resources and a lead on a warehouse job for Dad at a firm Elena worked with. The other was a small check, exactly $12,000. "That's Mom's trust," I said, looking Dad in the eye. "Plus interest. I earned it back. Consider it the final severance of our ties. Use it to find a studio. Use it to get Dylan's head straight. But don't call me again." Dad took the envelopes with trembling hands. "Harper, I'm so sorry. I let her." "You let yourself?" I interrupted gently. "Goodbye, Dad." I watched them drive away in their beat-up SUV, the same one that used to haul Dylan's failed dreams. I didn't feel the rush of adrenaline I expected. I just felt light. I walked back to the garden, picked up my trowel, and finished patting the dirt around the last rosebush. The ashes were buried deep, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was blooming. That's my story, guys. From a girl watching her life burn in a barrel to the woman holding the keys to her own kingdom. If you're in the middle of your own fire right now, just remember, ashes are actually great for the soil. Keep digging.